Call the meeting to order of this agenda briefing. We have several presentations tomorrow night. Consent agenda is C1 is approval of the minutes. C2 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a lease amendment with Tova Wealth Management LLC for a portion of the 7th floor of 929 North Front Street. C3 is a resolution requesting the city clerk to
Mr. Mayor, did you do the roll
Oh,
call?
I'm sorry, Kevin. Yes, thank you, I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem, are you here? Here. Councilman Reinbach, are you here? Councilmember Spear, are you here?
I'm here.
Councilmember Waddell, are you here? Councilmember Andrews?
Here.
Councilmember Joyner? And the chair is here. Everybody's here and accounted for. C3 is a resolution requesting the city clerk to investigate the sufficiency of a petition for annexation. C4 is a resolution revising membership terms of the Downtown Municipal Services District Advisory Committee, public information, public hearings. PH1 is a resolution approving the Second Amendment to the amended and restated purchase and development agreement for the River Place development and authorizing the city manager to sell property to the developer at a fair market value. And then PH2 is an ordinance amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 18, to provide a height exception for hospitals. And that looks like it's it. Anything else? Mary?
Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. We do have two presentations this morning for Council.
Okay.
The first item, Chad McEwen, our Deputy City Manager, will do a presentation on the Social District Pilot Program that we did in February.
Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. I could start without a presentation. There's really nothing on the presentation other than what I'll cover verbally. As you recall, we received a request in late October of last year from the Brooklyn Arts District folks for a pilot social district program. The council approved that program, and then in February, the first 3 Saturdays in February, the pilot program was held. So wanted to give you an update, basically, to go over the outcome of that social district, as well as advise you of the future requests we're going to receive from the Brooklyn Arts District Collective. First and foremost, I wanted to point out that there was no request for additional services requested of the city, no financial contributions from the city for the pilot social district program. There were supplemental services provided by WDI, and Ms. Christina Haley is here to assist with the social district pilot program. The city's level of services that were normally would have occurred on those Saturdays were provided to assist with trash collection, those type things within the district during those particular 3 Saturdays. We received a number of emails throughout the course of the 3 Saturdays, and then a large group of emails at the end from business owners, from residents, from attendees of the social district. The overwhelming majority of those emails were positive. They pointed out a lot of different benefits of the social district in terms of their attendance, in terms of revenues created, and it's really important to point out that the goal of enhancing business within the district related to non-alcohol selling establishments was realized. A lot of the emails we received in terms of the positive impact of the district were from businesses and individuals who weren't involved in alcohol sales. So one comment that was made early on was we hope that this social district would have a butterfly effect, not only obviously with alcohol sales would be increased, but a butterfly effect for non-alcohol establishments, and then after the social district, a butterfly effect outside the district. Once you got the people downtown, they may go down to Front Street, they may go to another district of the city to have dinner. All those things were realized in the emails that we received. The few complaints that we saw, and I want to say few, it was 2 or 3 that I saw in writing, and then there's been comments I think made at prior city council meetings about negative implications of the 3 Saturdays program. The primary focus of those complaints involved parking, residential parking. A lot of the folks that live in the Brooklyn Arts District and cursory areas around that district rely on on-street, no-fee parking. Obviously, if you're going to have an influx of a couple thousand people on a Saturday afternoon coming into that district that wouldn't otherwise be there to that degree, that parking is going to be impacted. Comments were made about the inability to park in close proximity to these residents. There was one, I think, an email that referenced having to park several blocks away and carry groceries in. There was some comments made about public intoxication, public urination. I do want to point out that there were no complaints, calls received from the fire department, the police department, or ALE related to any activities that went on in the pilot program, during the pilot program. We did learn some lessons and moving forward. One, we will need to address the parking issues as best we can. After the first pilot social district Saturday, we did discuss with WDI and with Chance Dunbar our need for better signage related to parking outside of the district, if at all possible. We did see those numbers increase to the Skyline deck once we did put up better signage directing people away from that district. Better signage and boundary designation needs to be provided if this is a permanent district that will be considered, requested, and considered by council. And we also would need to have some conversations with the businesses about, particularly alcohol establishments, about crowd management. There were at times some I don't want to say complaints, but there were some concerns raised about capacity issues and some of the businesses not having a presence at their front door to prevent alcohol from other establishments from coming into there. Very small details, learning curve type situations that obviously we would encounter introducing alcohol, being able to be moved within the street, but nothing insurmountable that we don't envision that we could address moving forward. Again, moving forward, we have a draft copy of a request that we have received from the Brooklyn Arts District Collective. We anticipate a fully executed copy of that letter coming in, but the general parameters of the request are going to be for every Saturday, noon to 5, for them to have a approved permitted social district within the same footprint. Again, that footprint would be somewhere in the Walnut Street all the way up to Front Street area of that existing corridor, with the Red Cross Street extension area over to Eagles Dare. Moving forward, what our plan is, once we receive that, I just had a conversation with Ms. Haley, once we receive that request, we're going to work, and we have already started the process of developing a framework of how we'll consider and process these requests before they get to council. There's obviously a lot of things that are present with a permanent request that weren't otherwise present with the pilot program, 3 Saturday pilot program request, that we'll have to get in place to get a structure set up to internally review, work with WDI before we can bring a formal request to council to consider. But again, we do anticipate a request coming forward. And in the next couple months, we would envision having not only that structure in place, but a first request for a permanent district coming to council. With that, I'll take.
Do you have a presentation, or are we dead on the video?
I'll get it. I'll email it. I can email it. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Any questions, Mr. Dunbar? And then Mayor Pro Tem.
Is there a mechanism in place, your department or whoever it filters down to, about future requests for social districts? Because I know they're coming.
Well, that's part of step one, is going to be to set up that structure. It's by committee now, because a request like this does touch multiple departments: the police, fire, Parks and Rec, parking, downtown coordination. We'll have to figure out a structure internally of how we review these. Right now, I'm kind of the point of contact that's been working on these, and don't mind continuing that and it may be the best approach, given it does touch so many different departments that need to buy in or need to be involved in that discussion. But we will develop that structure, yes, sir.
And also, ending at 5 is good in the wintertime when it's dark, but I would think in the daylight savings time months, 5 o'clock is kind of like in the middle of the day. Is that something that we insisted on, or is that something they came in and said, this is how long we'd like to do it?
This has been their request from the beginning through the pilot program, and the permanent request that we anticipate receiving is the 5 p.m. end time.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I guess, is it fair to say, after doing one pilot project, that you're kind of ready to make this permanent? And I know you said you're going to do further studies or something.
I'm sorry. I think in this district we found, I think it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. I think we found on the pilot program and for these Saturdays that it did work with some minor issues that we can address. Other districts, I think are going to have to be a case-by-case basis based on the time, location, the nature of the businesses. I think another area of the city that has a much higher concentration of business, of alcohol establishments to retail establishments would be something that would need to be considered. Again, the overarching goal of the pilot program was to increase all businesses, not just those that sell alcohol. So that would have to be something factored in once a district request, once the area requests a social district, then looking at the composition of the businesses that will be involved.
And I think, too, one of the things that came to my mind when you did this originally was the timing. You know, you had the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl. I mean, you had, like, probably the best possible weekends. Okay. All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Wardell.
Yeah, anecdotally, I attended 2 out of the 3 weekends, and with my wife and 2-year-old, and was very pleasantly surprised at the whole turnout and how professional it seemed to be organized and run. I want to reiterate that if other folks are looking to put social districts forward, that it's not just, hey, email to council and, hey, let's open up a social district. A year of planning in conjunction with WDI, with the city, with the business owners in the surrounding area went into this, and they really put the burden on themselves to bring a really good plan forward. We're seeing the fruits of that at this point. The one feedback that I would have, which you included in this, is capacity. Which is a good thing. It's successful. A lot of people are down there. There's a novelty aspect, I think, there that was driving a lot of that. But and we'll see if that continues. But how do we anticipate kind of, is it an enforcement mechanism for capacity, or is it just kind of reminding establishments of their requirements?
The capacity concern is definitely something that's been voiced when we've had these internal meetings with police and fire. In terms of capacity, what we're referencing is if we're on a Saturday, if we had 3 districts, let's say, wanted that noon to 5 p.m. on a Saturday time slot, you could imagine the challenges that might present. Let's just say from the fire standpoint, if there's 3 districts, you've got a likelihood of a fire inspector that's going to need to be in 3 different places checking occupancy, checking to make sure fire exit sidewalks are open outside these establishments. And also in the context of law enforcement, alcohol law enforcement, that's 3 different areas of the city that are going to have a high concentration of alcohol sales. Also, then you've got the other areas of the city that have alcohol sales during those times. So it's very difficult to gauge that at this point. One thing we've talked about internally is a scenario where the city allocates certain time slots. For example, maybe the time slot of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is not a scenario that the city would entertain in terms of a social district. Maybe it's only a Saturday and a Sunday time slot from noon to 5. And once those time slots are up or utilized, then there are no more social districts. We've still got to work through those details, and we'll rely on council to provide us some feedback on what they're comfortable with as well.
So really, your point on capacity was not the capacity of the establishments, it was more the capacity of city staff to be able to appropriately monitor multiple districts if they were to come along?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I do want to make sure our capacity of the actual establishments is being properly monitored, so that, I mean, your point goes to that.
Right.
Thank you for the work you've done on this, too. I know it's not an easy.
Thank you, sir. Also in capacity, we're very sensitive to that, and the Brooklyn Arts folks and WDI made this one much easier on us in the sense of they assumed a lot of the responsibility for trash, for self-managing this situation that didn't require additional city resources above the typical level that's experienced on a Saturday.
Okay, so and then Charlie.
I think my concern last time when we did the pilot project was that we didn't do a good job of notifying the public. And then we had a couple of failures, one caused by weather and one caused by a staff error about receiving public comment on this. And so I would just like to ask that when we schedule this next issue that comes before council, that we notify everybody by mail that's within that footprint between 3rd and 5th and between Taylor and Walnut, and just send them a letter, tell them about the public hearing, and give them a chance to speak to it, and then I'll be really happy.
That's one of the lessons learned, so to speak, that we referenced on here, is a much more robust public notice campaign prior to.
Thank you.
Mr. Rumbar?
This is not something that I mean, this is not a street fair that we're allowing out there. This is, I mean, these people did a yeoman's job running it on their own, and I don't wish to see our services get taxed to any sort of limit or whatever. I don't think that's what. I mean, social district is exactly what it says it is. It's people going from. I mean, it's not like it's all of a sudden you open up the southern border and 10 million people start flooding in there, albeit they want more people, but this is not what I envisioned at all, having to sit here and worry about how we're going to have capacity to monitor all these social districts. I just think you let the people that are coming before you that want their name on the permit or be responsible.
Yes, sir, that's our intentions, is that it would be self-managed to a degree, self-structured, self-managed, and the city would be would maintain at the current service level regardless of where the district is proposed or approved.
Thank you, sir.
I thought I saw one comment where someone wrote and said that they saw people driving intoxicated, or that. Is there any validity to that or anything?
I think you'd first have to define intoxication. Were there people that probably got behind the wheel after drinking a beer? I'd venture to say yes. I don't know. I think it'd be very difficult to determine that just from visually seeing somebody get in a car. I know that there was concerns about over-serving, particularly during the pilot, to make sure that the best foot forward was provided at the establishments that participated. I can't say whether or not, definitively, whether or not somebody did not get behind the wheel.
There were no arrests or anything?
There was no calls, and I don't, we checked with the police department several times. I would have thought that if there had been maybe a DUI or something in that area during that time slot, they would have let us know that, but that would have been hard to trace back to a social district establishment.
You can go to any restaurant in New Hanover County on a Friday or a Saturday night or in the afternoon and see the same thing. It's not just that social district. That's not what's driving that. I mean, people go to these places to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine or a couple of drinks, same thing. So I wouldn't want to put that black eye on the social district.
Chad, I just want to say thank you to the staff for, I mean, you guys have done an outstanding job, but really thank you to the folks in that district for all the hard work that they have done putting this thing together. And it's a little bit different in respect that not coming from the city, but coming from the business owners there that took the initiative to create this. And I think did a very good job. I mean, obviously, we have some issues that we have to work through. My concern has always been about the parking, and people will invariably going to be upset if people park up into their neighborhoods, especially in the historic districts where there's very limited parking and people park in front of their houses. We saw it up here on South Front, on Ann Street, Church Street, when people were, especially, I think of a lot of employees that are working at some of the restaurants down on the river, park up in those areas, or people that were going down there to go to those restaurants using those parking spaces. And we passed a parking program to protect the residents in that particular area, although it's public parking. But in this particular area, because of the parking deck across the street, we should be able to do that, be able to move a lot of the traffic or a lot of the parking up into that deck if we do it properly with the help of the business owners. I do like the fact that you have to apply for a permit or apply for an application, and the only reason I'm saying that is because I've been here long enough. All it takes is one bad bar owner that thumbs their nose at us, and it takes an act of God in some cases to close that establishment down if they're violating ALE violations. We've seen it over and over and over in this community. It gives us some sort of a stick in the event that we have a bad actor that's not playing by the rules, not following our guidelines. We can shut it down and protect the neighborhood if need be. Because I've seen this too many times in this community where one bad actor does something stupid and it causes everybody to suffer because of it. I like the application process, and it gives us an opportunity to evaluate it, and if we have problems and ongoing issues that we can't resolve, we can always shut it down. That's just my take on it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
so I don't want to downplay the concerns, first of all, my concerns, but also the concerns of citizens in and around that community, because a lot of them, they were not contacted. They didn't have a chance to voice their concerns about the impact. And again, I also feel as if it's economic, the mechanism to get people to the social district during those dates was alcohol. Because those same businesses who benefited from this, they could have used some sort of a marketing strategy to let people know that they were in existence if it was just about bolstering their business. So I don't want to be too hasty to say I don't think it was a bad thing, but there are other concerns from other people in that community, and the representation that we heard really came from a small number of people in that community. And that community is way bigger than just one side of 4th Street or two sides of 4th Street. You have to understand that the impacts from what takes place on 4th Street go all the way down Nixon, down Red Cross, possibly to McCray Street. And so those people weren't contacted. So I don't agree that, I don't think everyone needs to be sent a letter. I mean, at least not by the city. I don't know if the Brooklyn Arts District wants to get out and actually do the work of contacting people in the community, but there was not a fair representation as to the positivity or the effectiveness of this district. And I do want to say that because I've ran into so many people during and after that period of time who agreed that they didn't want it. And they also stated that they weren't contacted. And I also don't want to downplay the safety. Councilman Rivenbark says, people get in their car when they go to restaurants, they have 1 or 2 glasses of wine. True. That's true, but when you're going to a place just so you can walk around and have open containers, that's a different animal.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, yes, Celeste.
I just wanted to recognize that we have Jane McDonald here from Coastal Horizons, and she is also the director of the Cape Fear Coalition, formerly the Cape Fear Coalition for a Drug-Free Community. And she has offered to, she's got some best practices around social districts from her professional experience. And so when we bring this item forward in the future, I'd like for her to be able to present those.
Okay,
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Our next item is Dave Mays, our Public Works Director, is going to present an update on the Keenan Fountain repairs.
Keenan Fountain.
Morning, Mayor. Morning,
Morning.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Wanted to give you a brief update on where we are with the Keenan Fountain. Just to look back very briefly, Keenan Fountain located at the intersection of 5th and Market, 5th Street being a city-owned street, Market Street being an NCDOT maintained street. The fountain was a gift to the city back in 1921. It's been there ever since. In 1953, the State Highway Commission at the time asked for its removal. Instead of removing it, we reduced the footprint. The picture that you see there was the original fountain that was put in place. And this is a historic item that we have to maintain, made out of carved limestone that comes from a quarry in Indiana. I came to you back in September of last year, provided you with an update. Some of the things that we talked about then included the maintenance challenges, history of the accidents. We looked at some of the photographs of the damage. We talked about some of the previous work that was done, went over the historic oversight and some takeaways. Today, what I really want to focus on is our current plans for repair and restoration, costs that we're looking at, and also a schedule. So just as a reminder, the primary reason that the fountain is non-operational right now is because of the accident that occurred when NCDOT was paving, resurfacing Market Street. One of their pieces of equipment at night ran into the fountain, broke the bowl. Now the fountain does not hold water. So, current planned work. On the left side of the picture here is some design drawings that we've prepared based on conducting or repairing, making the repairs due to the damage from the contractor. Our estimate for that work is around $225,000. We have processed a claim for $98,560, so that money has been received. There is some chance that we may be able to file for additional funds depending on the results of the bid that we get. So that's not a guarantee, but I did want to make sure y'all knew that we have, that claim has been processed so far, but it still can be opened. Yes, sir.
Help me here. The estimate's $225,000 and we've got a claim for $98,560.
Yes, sir.
How about that difference?
Well, that's part of the funding issue that we have with getting the work done. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute.
Who's paying the $98,560?
The insurance company for the contractor.
Okay. Well, they got some huge deductible that we don't get. If you're going to go and further explain this, I'll shut up. But
I'll give you some more information. It may not get to exactly what your question is.
I'll come back to you.
Yes, sir. The restoration work is shown on the right-hand side of the screen. We have an estimate for about $310,000 for that work. This work is really designed around repointing the mortar joints, restoring stones that have aged, and restoring some of the ornate features on the fountain that are starting to deteriorate. We have an estimated $138,736 budget that is currently available for that work. Also, what we have planned is related to the plumbing improvements. Underneath the fountain is all the plumbing that actually makes the fountain work. The current arrangement for the plumbing underneath the fountain presents some safety issues for staff that work on it. It's all underneath the fountain, and when we enter that space, it requires confined space access requirements. We have to follow OSHA guidelines when we enter that space in order to work on the plumbing. We've asked the engineer that helped us with this to design a replacement for that plumbing that helped us alleviate some of that safety concern. He's done so by providing a plumbing design that allows a manifold that is over at the access point that would greatly diminish the need for us to actually get underneath the fountain for a lot of the work that may have to occur. That work is estimated right now at $65,000. Unfortunately, we've also seen damage to the amenities that are around the fountain. The bench on the south side was hit recently. Repairs from that bench are right now quoted at $48,630. That claim is pending. I think we can expect to be fully reimbursed for that amount of money. Also, the balusters are in disrepair. Repairs to the balusters on the east side are right now quoted at $91,500, and on the west side at $68,850. There are no available claims related to the damage to these balusters. So if you look at,
Somebody didn't stop, we didn't cite who did it.
I'm sorry?
In other, when you say there are no claims pending, in other words, somebody hit it, left, we didn't get to file, there was no police report. Thank you.
Exactly, yes, sir. In summary, looking at all the costs, the total of all of these costs is just over $800,000. The budget and/or claim amount that we currently have available in the bank right now is just under $240,000, and you see the difference right there. I would just remind you again and say that the $48,360 claim that we could submit for the bench, it's entirely reasonable that we could receive that money in its entirety. So recommendations related to this, one would be to consider removing the balusters. They are the features that get hit the most, they get damaged the most, and as you can see, they are not inexpensive to replace. And if that was a consideration that y'all would be in favor of, that would reduce the difference in the cost by about $160,000. The bench repairs, our recommendation is to actually fund that and then file a claim for that full reimbursement. And then on the plumbing replacement, also we're requesting that also be funding to help us diminish that safety issue related to access.
Yeah, we got it.
Dave,
Sir.
would it be possible to, rather than just getting rid of the balusters, if we were to utilize them in some other project, like the Water Street Park, maybe kind of have them as a piece there? Is that possible? Or are they so destroyed that we'd have to recreate them? And
I think there would be a certain amount of cost associated with restoring them, to a presentable means in a different location. So there would still be some cost.
right, but we'd move them out of the way of traffic potentially, and just rather than just tossing them. I think they have a historic significance and they're beautiful.
Certainly.
So if we could utilize them in some other future park, I'd be interested in that.
Fair enough. Yes, sir. So we actually do have a bid that's underway. We actually had a pre-bid meeting last week. We intend to open bids on April 22nd, contingent on the fact that we need enough bidders to actually open the bids. Our target would be to come back to City Council with a resolution and an appropriation ordinance. Our target date would be the second council meeting in May. Part of that would be related to awarding a construction contract, and the other part would be asking for an appropriation ordinance to help fund the repairs. That $450,000 estimate for that appropriation includes contingency, and it also considers the removal of those balusters. So if you didn't want to proceed with that, that number would have to change to include the difference in getting the balusters repaired as well.
Yes.
What is the difference between the cost of removing them and potentially relocating them and repairing them and leaving them in place?
Without identifying the location, I think it's fair to say, Ms. Andrews, that the quotes to get them restored would be a fairly good estimate to get, if we wanted to take them in full and put them somewhere else, the relocation is not the big expense. It's the actual recreation of the broken parts. And those are, and again, these are parts made out of the carved limestone that's coming from a quarry in the Midwest. So that's really the expensive part.
John?
Dave, just since you've been here, how much money have we spent on Keenan Fountain? And I know you probably don't have that off the top of your head, I understand that. But I have sat on councils where we've been dealing with Keenan Fountain since I came on in the 90s. And we hired some fancy group in here about, I don't know, Mayor, you may have been here, to come in, and they did all this beautiful lighting. And we had a big deal. We were standing on the porch at the Bellamy Mansion when they turned the lights on. You remember that? And it's just one thing after another. I mean, at least once every couple of 3 years, somebody comes before us and wants to spend, these kinds of dollars on it. And please don't take that to say that I'd like to see it go away, but this is insanity. We just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. We've shrunk it. The original picture you had up there, I've got a picture of that intersection before the fountain was even there. But we have shrunk that thing down and shrunk it down, and people still continue to hit it, damage it. The plumbing's bad. I mean, it just gets to a point where it doesn't make any sense anymore. But my real question is, the vendor that hit this, was he employed by us or the DOT?
NCDOT.
And he was fully insured?
Yes, sir.
And why is he not paying for everything, for the damage that they did?
Well, I'd really have to get our risk manager to answer that.
Is he here?
He's not here right now, no, sir. But we can certainly get that information for you. Happy to do that.
Well, it just, if I hit it in my car, my insurance company would be up to the plate. I would hope I would have a deductible. But that shouldn't punish the city. I mean, the damn fountain's just sitting there minding its own business, and people keep running into it. And at some point, they have to, these people that keep hitting, especially a vendor. I mean, the traffic was blocked off. It's not like he was dodging cars. You get my point?
Yes, sir, and I'll express a little bit of my own frustration in the process that we've had to go through. The number that we started at was a lot different than the one I'm presenting to you in terms of that 98,000. It was a lot different, much smaller.
Were you involved in any of those talks, negotiations?
I worked directly with our risk manager, and he was more in direct contact with the vendor. I mean, the insurance company.
I would just love to hear what their side of the story is.
Absolutely. We can provide that to you, no problem. And let me just say this one other point. The bid process that we've just started, we've arranged that so that we can carve out pieces of this very easily. The base bid, our intent is to turn the thing back on, get the water running. That is 100% related to fixing the damage that was done by the contractor. If we get that part of it done, then we can turn the fountain back on. The restoration work is something, it's needed, but it can wait if that's what council desires. The balusters, again, if there's desire to look at other options to perhaps restore them but relocate them, we can start doing that. We can certainly remove them, preserve the parts, and assess that at a later date. The bench that's damaged, I don't think there's any reason to think that we can't get that restored and recover 100% of the claim for that bench.
Okay. I'd like to hear that about I'd like to have the risk manager explain to me. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure there's another side of the story that I'm not getting, and I appreciate that. But when somebody does damage like that and they have insurance, insurance company ought to pay it.
You got no arguments from me,
Okay.
Councilman.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave?
That reassures me.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Wait a minute, Mr. Joyner. Yeah, go ahead.
Just adding my 2 cents of, I think it makes the most sense to not reconstruct the balusters, to landscape those portions a little bit better, and that solves that problem in my view. And the benches, I mean, if you can get them fully reimbursed, great. That's no money from the city, but I don't know who's sitting on a bench to watch traffic go by and a fountain that's not running. So, but I appreciate your work on this, and I know it does add some nice, the fountain element adds some nice character to the neighborhood and historic value. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I agree with Councilman Rivenbark. My question, though, is when I look at the report, it says like the 98,000 is claim process. That means we've not settled the claim. It's still that we're still arguing about it, or what?
They have paid us that amount. That money is in our possession. In my discussions with the risk manager, he does think there might be some opportunity for us to go back and revisit that with the insurance company. And again, I'm happy to bring those details back to you. I just don't have them.
Yeah,
with me
please
today.
do, because I mean, if it's like it's their fault, so I would, okay, thank you. And,
Yes.
yeah, and I think the benches, I agree with Councilman Joyner. I don't think people are sitting on those benches. And I don't know how much it would cost to move them. You know, once you replace them, would you move them, or I don't know. But thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree about the balusters and the bench, just because, you know, people aren't calling us and complaining about the balusters and the bench. They're complaining about the fountain not being on. So I think that's our major goal here. I wanted you to go to that next slide that you had about the accidents. I know we've, there
Oh,
was
I'm
one.
sorry. Yeah, yes, I added these just to.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and we kind of saw this before when you brought this before. You know, I just wanted to point out, you know, we've got 24 accidents, just that we have police reports for, right? And at least half of them are DWI. And so even not counting the personal damage that went into those other vehicles and counting the lives damaged and lost, you know, that's accounting for, right now we're on the hook for $571,000 plus in taxpayer money. So, you know, there is a real concern about people getting in their cars and driving after drinking. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think the mayor said every 3 or 4 years we're dealing with something.
Yeah.
The number of accidents, at least that I could trace back to, it's averaging 1 per year, so.
Just so everybody up here knows, those benches weren't put there for somebody's comfort, okay? It's statuary. It looks like a bench, it is a bench, but it wasn't put there for anybody to come and sit on, okay? It was historic, the Keenan family did it, and I'm either way on that, but that's not what they were there for.
I would just, I'm certainly fine with taking the balusters and the bench and removing them. I think we're going to continue to have issues if we leave it there. I would implore us to keep them somewhere. I think we have ample storage, so we can keep them somewhere. So if there's an appropriate venue for us to place them at a future date, that we can honor the gift that was given, and it has significant historical implications to the city. I'd also be interested in I mean, could we have the whole amenity put at Waterfront Park, fountain and all? That's a wild ask, I realize.
I'll give you the engineering answer.
Yeah.
It's entirely able to be disassembled and put somewhere else.
Just expensive.
There would be expense to it, for sure. I would say because of the historical significance of it, there would need to be a process to determine where that might go.
Sure, of course. Okay, thank you.
There are all kinds of ways. I know Laura Paget, myself, and Tony Calder were out there with the DOT. There are ways with traffic to alleviate this problem, and nobody will do it. The DOT controls that street. We wanted to repave it, and they said, fine, go ahead, but you're going to be responsible for it from now on. But there are ways to alleviate that. I mean, when you're on that inside lane and you're coming around there, it looks like you're getting ready to hit the guy on the right when you're going around it. You know, it's DUI, I grant you, that's got something to do with it, but it's also speed. It's speed right there. I mean, you could put 25 miles an hour on it, people still going to go 45, and that's where the problem comes in.
Well, we all have to admit that having a fountain in the middle of a road is not something that anybody would recommend by today's standards. And this thing was done in 1921, and Wilmington was a much different city in 1921 than it is in 2025. So I know we have our work cut out for us on this thing all the time. And it's a beautiful feature to have, and I know everybody wants to see the water come on. And I remember a couple of years back, the Keenan family, I believe, donated a significant amount of money for the whole restoration of that. I remember we did a significant restoration probably back in 2009 now, but it's been a while.
It has been a while. That was before me.
Yeah, was before you. Heck, you were here before that.
Well, I wasn't managing the fountain at that point,
Yeah,
so.
it's a beautiful fountain. But anyway, we got our chores on this one, so, okay.
You know, who would have ever thought that we would take Fifth Avenue and do the road diet that we're doing in there? I mean, that would have been unheard of 10 years ago. But we're doing it, and it's going to make sense. And, you know, Market Street to me is no different. Not just because of what's happening here at the fountain, but it is. I mean, you could make a two-block section in either direction one way or one lane, and that would alleviate it. People would get used to it. I haven't heard anybody complain about what we're getting ready to do to Fifth Avenue. Of course, it isn't done yet, but, you know, I think that was a bold step, and we need to do something like that here.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, Marion, anything else?
No other items today, thank you.
Okay, very good. With that, we stand adjourned.